I want to turn the garden into somewhere that I'm inspired to go out and cook. I want to spend time in it. I want to fire up the barbecue, sit out in the shack, enjoy my day whilst cooking food. Okay, we're on to the fun part of the build, and really the reason why we're all here, and that is actually putting the shack together. Paving's done, we have a nice hard surface to work on, clean area. The next thing I want to do then is try and get the frames in, so I haven't really talked about what the actual shack's going to be. So anybody that remembers the old shack, it is something similar to it. We have our corner posts already in. We're going to be fully enclosed on this side and all along the back. We're going with polycarbonate roof again. It's a slightly thicker roof. I think the last one must have been an 8mm roof or a 6mm. So it was really thin. This is a 10mm roof, so it's much heavier. So we are going slope to the back. This side is still up for debate. So the wind mostly comes from the side of the house this direction. So if it gets too windy in the shack, I might end up closing that side in and just having the front open, but we'll deal with that later on. So my plan today is to try and get at least these 2 stud frames put in place. I won't sheet them in yet because I need to run electrics and stuff through them, but fingers crossed by the end of the day we should have the sort of skeleton of what the shack will eventually look like. Let's just get on with it now. This back fence, I'm not going to put anything else into the ground. Everyone's going to come off this. This was a new build house, so they didn't tend to, whenever they're putting the post in for the fence, they weren't too shy with putting concrete in around it. I think there is probably, they got some 100 kilos in around each post in this. That's what happens whenever you put your concrete in with a dumper rather than a wheelbarrow. So we have 3 posts. Unfortunately, we're going to miss the 3rd one, which is about here. We have one here pretty much right in the middle and one right at the end. Now the other thing is I want to build the shack about 100mm off this fence purely to allow for guttering along the back, which is going to run and then come down and drain off in this stone area. So I need to build it out from the fence by 100mm. I'm just going to pack it out with 4x2 to hold it out. I'm going to try and hit those posts, and that should give us a good solid mount onto it. It's a good sturdy fence. The other thing we're going to mount to is actually the sleepers then. If there's about 100 kilos in around the base of these posts, there's probably close to around 2 ton at the bottom of those sleepers. So that is a good sturdy base to mount to as well. So once that's all tied together, that should give us a good sturdy frame. I don't know if my dog is in the camera or not, but he's eating the plants. TJ, get down. We also need to do something to stop the dogs getting on the Slimish. It's a pain. So I'm going to work on this side first and get this packer wall put out. There is one other thing I forgot to mention. There are very few right angles in this build. If I'm looking at it from your perspective, apologies from coming from the back. The sleepers run off in this direction. The fence runs off in that direction. So it actually forms, I don't even know what kind of shape that forms, but it forms a weird shape. So I've squared off the shack, so it's actually going to be longer on this side than it is on this side. It's also going to be longer at the back than it is at the front. So nothing is square, nothing is easy, nothing is just figure it out as you go. I couldn't tell you one exact measurement that's going to go into this shack. Okay, it took a bit of time to set my levels just and get the 4 corners worked out. So it's going to be sort of level as you're looking at it. The run's going to be off towards the back into the guttering obviously. But the ground's going to slope away to the right hand side as you guys will be watching it. But I think if my cabinets and my shelves are built level, it should take the look off it. Hopefully it won't look too bad. So I'm back to working on this wall. I'll have uprights on, just about to do the top piece, and then I'm kind of just tacking everything in place for now because I want to then take it off and I'll build it on the ground as a big stud frame and then lift it up. Just think it'll be easier to mark out where my studs are going to be and then mount them from top and bottom. Then we're going to get mounted to the fence. I have the battens run up the fence. I think that they're pretty steady, so I think they should be okay. So let's get the top part done and then we'll get this back stud wall done and put up. Then it's time to work this one here out that has the fall on it. Okay, I think I've done what I need to get done tonight. We have both sides framed in, so the back one is now fixed to the fence. The one on the right hand side that's gone against Slimish is all mounted in place as well. It is so sturdy. Once both of them are mounted together, it's really firmed everything up. So I think we're fine as far as mounting points go, and then once everything gets fixed to the post as well, then that's what sort of squares everything off and keeps it steady. So the next thing is getting framing on for the shack roof. I'm going to give it a go tomorrow night. I'm not doing anything more tonight. It's 5:30. I'm ready for a shower and a sit down. Family's coming over, just going to chill out with them. So tomorrow night we're going to get the roof, try get the frame up. I want to give it a coat of paint, I think, before I put the actual covering onto it. And then once that covering goes onto it, that's a dry area where I can work. Doesn't matter what it's doing out here, I'm safe from the elements in there, which is the main thing. So roll on getting the roof on. The problem is, I think I've got 2 days of good weather, and then it is forecasting a bit of rain again. So I kind of need this timber to dry out enough that I can get it painted and then give it a chance to dry to get the roof on before the rain comes. Once again, we're chasing the rain. It's a nightmare. Good night, folks. Okay, so we're 2 days ahead of when we last spoke. Dad came over last night, gave me a hand actually getting the shack roof on. Well, I'll say the roof, we've got the framework done. There's a few things I need to do before we actually put the plastic onto it. So I don't know if I mentioned before, but we are going polycarbonate again. It's slightly heavier. I figured out the last time we were, I think, 6mm. So you're 6 or 8, this is 10mm, so it's a lot sturdier. But the framework's up anyway. Tonight, the main aim is to get the guttering done at the back. It'll be easier to work on it now whenever I can go up through the roof. I need to finish off a little bit of framework, just patching in a few joists, and then I want to get the top framework painted so that we can put the plastic onto it and I don't have to cut in against it, because I'll make an absolute mess of it. I know fine right there well. So guttering tonight is the main one, getting those few bits of framework done. I have a feeling I might be painting in the dark, but depends how long this guttering takes me. Okay, so put 2 brackets up, run a string between them just to try and get an idea what kind of level we're sitting at. Okay, I've run the line. I think it's, tell you what it is, it's underexposed. So I've run the line, I think that's a better fall. What I think I'll do is cut the guttering to size now, set it in there and see what it looks like before I put the rest of the clips and stuff up. I don't want to put all the clips up, cut it, put it in, realise it's not working. So best to check first. By right, if I go and get some water and throw it into that, it should run out that other end. That's what should happen. Right, moment of truth. It is moving, yeah. It's coming out the other end. Maybe just being fussy, can move it slightly lower at the very far side, but it's running, that's the main thing. I've lifted you off tripod, see if this works. Yeah, I think that's more than enough of a run. Right, that was one of the main things I wanted to do. The other thing is, I want to, so I've obviously done these bits to put the joists onto, but I want to finish them off, so there's another couple to go on here, and then I want to put centre struts across here. The lights are going to mount to it, and it'll also help take a bit of support for the roof too. And that's all saw work, so I might get it done now. It's 7:45, so another 45 minutes, and I'd like to be finished with the saw, then we can paint. Right, I think we're going to have to call it quits. It's basically with the noisy stuff tonight. It is 20 to 9. I got done what I wanted to get done. So I finished along the back, the trim, and then I got the extra brace put across the roof. I pretty much got done what I wanted to get done, and I didn't get the painting done, so I'm just going to have to be tidy whenever I'm actually painting the whole shack. All the electrics arrive tomorrow, so the next step will be trying to get them all put in place. Roof's going to go on tomorrow night, but I imagine by, we're on Tuesday now, so Wednesday hopefully I'll get the roof done. Thursday run the electrics. By the weekend we could potentially have it sheet it in or be sheeting it in at the weekend, and that's when I'll really start to take place. But overall, I'm so happy with how it's turning out so far. I'm at the stage now where I just want to work 24/7 to get it finished. I'm a little bit like that with projects. Once I start them, that's why I'm getting beardy. You always know I'm doing DIY once the beard comes, because I just look like a homeless man for about 2 weeks until everything's finished. Then I shave and get tidied up. I do shower though, not that bad. So we have the roof on the shack. Dad came over last night, gave me a hand. It was, of course, the only windy night we've had. It was pretty good every other night, and the night we decided to put the roof on, it's quite windy. So it took at least 2 of us just to lie on top of them to keep them down, to get them screwed down. So I have to say, I'm more than impressed with it. The sheets felt a lot thicker than the last shack. So I don't know if the last ones were 6mm or these ones feel nearly double the depth, so they must have been close to 6mm. So I'm super happy with it. I had to actually climb up on top at one point just to cut the plastic along the guttering. I was a bit nervous climbing on top of a plastic roof, but we threw a couple of boards across it. I was able to go across it no problem. The whole thing is solid as a rock, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to take off. So tonight Dad is coming over again to give me a hand because we're going to try and do the sheets. The electrics all arrived today, so I'm only going to test fit the sheets, but we have to get them all cut. Of course the top and bottoms aren't straight cuts, so they're all going to be weird shapes, so it'll probably take about half the night to get it finished. But I think if I can get them all cut, get them put on, just tacked on for now, then I'll bring them all off again and I can run my electrics, cut where the boxes and stuff are going to be for them, for the plugs and switches, pull all my wires through it and then mount them up, because I've no real access to the back of it, so I can't get in to adjust wires or push them through once everything's finally fixed. But it's starting to take shape. I now have somewhere that is fully dry. If it does rain for an evening and I have a bit of work to do, a bit of paint to do inside it, I'm secure from the elements. I'm happy days. It's so close to being finished. I don't want to scot it, but it is going well. Shouldn't have said that. Right, let's get the sheets up. I don't know if we could officially say that this is the first video shot in the shack. Roof's done, the sheets are all cut and temporarily on. Unfortunately they all have to come back off again to do the electrics, but while I had the help with my dad, it was much better to get them fitted, because 2 people trying to hold them onto the wall and square them off was much easier than one. My plan tonight, I've just silicone around the edge of the roof, so that's it, should be fully sealed. My next plan is to map out where I want the electrics to go before these sheets come off the wall, and then I want to try and get this roof frame painted, or at least the sections painted that I know I'm going to mount conduit and lights to. But I think first we'll map out. We'll go over sockets first, so I'm not going to go crazy with the sockets because it's still not a massive shack. I should say we're going to all surface mount it. So these aren't outdoor sockets, they're indoor sockets. I went surface mount it rather than actually sinking them into the walls because it keeps everything on the inside. We'll put rain loops in the back of them and then silicone up where the wire comes through. So any water that runs down the wire is going to drip off that rain loop before it comes up and into the socket. I will also preface this with, I'm not an electrician, however my cousin is an electrician, and it's him that I've sort of talked to about all this stuff, and he sorted me out with it, so he has given me everything I need, told me how to install it all. I don't mind doing electrics, I actually quite like it, so everything has been sort of advised the safest way to do it. Putting sockets like this on, which is what I had in my old shack, they're outdoor sockets, so they have a cover over the top of them whenever you put them on. They're such a pain to put anything into, and some big plugs don't fit into them properly because of the cover on them. So I wanted to find a way to do inside sockets and still keep it safe. So for sockets, we're going double socket on this wall and a double socket over here at where the workbench will be at the back. Also then, which is possibly a bit of a video thing rather than an actual barbecue thing, I'm going to put a socket up here in the roof, because Sometimes if I need to put lights and stuff up, it's handier I can now mount the lights to the post, keep all the wires up out of the way, and it's one less thing to roll about the floor. And then if I need to put lights over here, they can run down the wall. So it was rather than dragging something across the shack to get to the post, now that single socket will help that out. And for lights, we're going with two 2-foot battens along the middle, so roughly about a 4-foot batten, which will be like our main work light. It'll light the shack up. Then for a little bit of mood lighting, I've got these LED outdoor strips. So they're low voltage. They're just like, if any of you guys have kids, I'm sure your kids have asked for that tape with the LEDs on it. It's similar to that, only it's an outdoor one that's rubberized. I'm going to put those around the outside rim of the shack, and then there's also another one that will beam down onto the bench. So that'll be kind of like moody shack. So there's functional shack with the lights in the roof, and then there's moody shack with the LED lights around the rim of it. Then we also have festoon lighting to go out the front. I'm keen to get that all done, because once that's done, then it doesn't really matter if it gets dark. I can work away out here with my lights on. So I need to quickly go around and mark out the panels, because once I take everything down, then I need to kind of do first fix, pulling the cables all through to where they need to be, so they can come back through the OSB and then mount to them. So I'm going to do that now, mark out roughly where I want everything, and then we'll see how we like the layout. Okay, I think those make sense. Double socket here. Our cabinets along the back are going to be about 6 foot. So this is kind of half a foot in from the left hand side of them. There'll be a shelf up here. I've took the standard, so standard to the top of a countertop is about 91 centimeters. These are going to be slightly more, they're about 93 by the time I'm done with them. They're going to be higher at that side purely because of the fall. Obviously we want our counter to be level. We don't want it running downhill, so we'll make it level, which means it's going to be higher at that end. That's fine by me. I'm pretty tall, so I don't mind them being a little bit taller. So light switch, socket, double socket. Don't need to put the single socket up yet because I need to paint that framework before it goes up. They're all far enough in. This one's over halfway in. These ones are well over halfway in, so they shouldn't get any little bit of rain that kind of blows in from here. It's not really going to affect them. They'll be well enough sealed up anyway, so if the odd little spit of rain gets onto them, it's not a big deal. I'll mark where the boxes are. That'll allow me to put my holes in to bring the wires through into the back of them. Everything should be nice, tidy, concealed. Happy days. Okay, that's the roof frame. Give a quick sanding down, ready for a coat paint. So it is 5 to 8. They're saying we'll be doing this in the dark, but I want to get it done. It'll set me up for tomorrow, like, so I'll just stick some music on, get my way through it. Those wires should now, once I flip the trip on obviously, feed power to the shack. I'm called down to our Galgorm store, Creative Gardens. We're going to go in and have a look at plants and some furniture and stuff for the build. Dare I say it, I believe that is all the organisational stuff and the woodwork building stuff done in the shack.